It's just the flu.
Yeah, toilet. What is it, a headache, a fever, and diarrhea? I mean, come on.
You just take some Pepto, right? Take some Pepto.
Buckwheat, that's it.
There we
cures
go.
everything.
All right, well, we're live now. Let's see here. We do this, and then we do that. Good morning. I'm sorry. Good afternoon, everybody. How y'all doing? Leon is here in the house for me. Oh, shit. Is here in the house from the Stepback podcast. We will be starting the show momentarily. We're just fixing and adjusting some things on our end to bring you the best baseball podcast we can.
Yeah, should I fix my lighting, my camera angle? Am I good? Gotta get the close up side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All of that. See, people just think, oh, we just hit the record button. That's it. No, man. There's a lot of planning that goes on in this. You know, there's a lot. Yeah. I mean, what you guys think we just come in here willy nilly and just shoot the shit? You know what I mean? I don't think so.
I mean,
hey,
it somewhat goes like that. Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't think so. No. No. Don't shortchange me now. I'll tell you what. Do not shortchange me now. What were we doing here? What are we doing? I got like a million screens open. Anyway, let's get going. I'm sure that people are kind of wondering why we haven't started yet. Testing. How do I sound, Leon? Am I good?
You're clear, man. You're clear. You're good.
All right. Yell now. You yell for me. I want to see how loud your voice can get. Go ahead.
Oh, it doesn't get too loud, but testing. Oh, I bit my tongue. Look at that. Testing. How do I sound?
Yeah, I mean, you sound good, but I'm sorry I had you show off there. That you bit your tongue. All right, let's get going. I'll hit the record. Well, just suck it up and take some Pepto. No, do some Robitussin. That's what you need. You need some Robitussin. Put some ice on it. And I think it was Chris Rock that did the Robitussin bit, and Eddie Griffin that did the ice thing, right? Is that how it goes? I feel like somebody copied somebody.
Eddie Griffin.
Eddie Griffin. I think he did the ice pack thing.
Yeah. It sounds about right.
Yeah. I wonder if they kind of stole from each other. I'm curious. All right, let's get going. I'm gonna hit the record button now on this computer. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Total Bases Podcast. I am your host, Felipe Milicio. And joining me, as always, actually, no, not as always. I had to go to the bullpen, give him a little sign, whatever that sign is, and bring in, to substitute for Sean Flannery today, is our basketball podcast, the Stepback's host, Leon Tompkins. Leon, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing well, bro. Pulling in a 3-day and 5 nights type deal, so I feel pretty good. My arm might be falling off, but I'm willing to help the team.
Oh man, well, we're all a team here. This is a Life Group Difference, part of the Life Group podcast of network, or the network of podcasts, I should say. I'm dyslexic like that, I guess. But no, man, thank you so much for coming in. Sean is out on the injured list with an illness. We don't know what it is, but he doesn't feel too well. So, we're a team here. Like I mentioned, when one of us is down, someone is there to pick up the slack and run with it. So I appreciate you coming on at the last minute. So thank you, Leon. I cannot show my gratitude enough to you, man. And then, you know what? Might as well. You have a podcast of your own, as I mentioned. Go ahead and plug that in right now.
Cool. Yes, I am the host of the Stepback podcast over in the Boas Life Group, along with my good friend Jacob Moses. We had our last episode this past Wednesday where we covered our top 10 power rankings coming into the season, top 5 duos. Spoke about Kyrie, Paul George, and James Harden rumors. We'll be back on in 2 weeks. Probably do some fantasy updates as well as give our over-unders for the upcoming season. So catch us Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock over in the Boas Life Group. Me and my good friend Jacob Moses, Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock.
Are you guys going on this week? I thought you guys were going on this week.
We're debating it because we had said we're going to do every 2 weeks during the off season, but considering if we, have our fantasy draft, we may come on this week. So we'll see what I go.
Our fantasy, wait, my fantasy draft or your fantasy? I know you're having a league of your own.
No, my draft is on the 20th.
Okay.
I think ours is supposed to be today, but if it goes through, we'll plug in. We'll see what happens. But
I'm telling you right now,
more than likely,
it's not gonna go through. So if anything, I can come in and we can talk about our keepers, which but yeah,
right.
I got nothing for you this week, so I'm gonna have to bow out on this week. I'm sorry to let you know right now, but yeah, this has not been a good week to start. It's like I don't want to talk about it. It's just been a big issue, and I'm still flustered by it. And it's a shame because I really wanted to talk to you guys about our fantasy league, but we'll have to. I'll have to take a rain check for another week. But it's up to you, man. What you guys want to do over there in terms of. Honestly, I'm kind of shocked that you guys were going to go every 2 weeks because the NBA off season is just as fun as the NBA in season. But I know you guys need your break yourselves. But it's like you guys try to take your break, and free agency is here. The draft is here. The season's gonna start a lot sooner than you thought it would start. So it's like, did you even take a break at all? It seems like you guys were still doing every week.
No, and we had tried to plan it that way because we thought there wouldn't be any like news or anything, but it all happened so fast, and we had intended to take a break around the holidays, but that never really came to fruition. So this is the best way we could possibly take a break, is do every 2 weeks.
All right. Well, we'll see if you're on board. I'll be sure to listen. I'm about 30 minutes into the previous podcast with Charlie Martinez, who's always a good listen to. But unfortunately, he's a Celtics fan, so I can only listen about the Celtics for so long. But you guys do have an amazing job over there. It's you guys have basically been the only basketball podcast I listen to nowadays.
Oh, thank you for the support, and check us out Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Bowlers Life. If you're not there.
It's 8 p.m.
Yep.
Eastern, by the way.
Eastern.
Yeah, 7 o'clock Central. And you can catch all our podcasts, all our life group podcasts, and might as well get them out of the way right now. Dong City, I think I can't keep track. No, they're off tomorrow, I think. Yeah, because they went last week, and they're going to stick to their every other week schedule. And so we'll go with that. So they're off tomorrow, but they're usually on Monday nights. And that's followed by the Audible, who are our busiest podcast of the fall and winter because they decided to go review and preview into the week. So they're on Tuesdays and Tuesday nights, Friday afternoons. And then Stepback, as Leon mentioned, they're on Wednesday nights at the Ball is Life group. And then right now we're live Sunday mornings / afternoons at this point. The Total Basis podcast, your fantasy baseball / roster building / player evaluation / team evaluation podcast. We do everything around here. That's hence the name, Total Basis Podcast. And you can listen to us on Stitcher, Spotify. If you're not listening to us live on Facebook, Stitcher, Spotify. You can catch the video feed on YouTube a day or two after we record. And and all the other podcast formats and yada, yada, yada. So that's out of the way. Make sure you like, subscribe to us, all that jazz, so you can get up the updates and listen to this vital information we're about to disclose. So let's get going, man. And again, I thank you for coming on board, and we'll start this show with some transactions that have happened, and we'll start with some trades. I am a White Sox fan, even though I sometimes wear my Cubs gear. I do like both teams, but the White Sox are making all the moves this week, and we'll start with the trade that they made with the Texas Rangers. Lance Lynn for Dane Dunning, and I apparently Avery Weems also went to the Rangers as well. But the big one is Dane Dunning going to the Rangers, which caused a lot of scratchy heads and confusion among White Sox fans and other fans of teams that haven't won anything in a while, that they don't know how to win anymore. So they're like, why are you trading away Dane Dunning? Like, well, because Dane Dunning's not that good, and he's 26 years old, and his velocity on his fastball is dipping. And Lance Lynn, the Sox are in win now mode. So, I mean, Leon, what do you think about that trade?
I mean, I think the White Sox did well considering where they are in their development stage. Playoffs last season, disheartening exit in the wild card round. But I think that pitching staff has to catch up to the offense, and Lance Lynn is an innings leader. Dane Dunning is an expendable asset. It's the move to make.
Yeah, I agree. And somehow Lance Lynn still has a pretty decent fastball. Where is it? I have it right here. Dane Dunning is like at 91.7 miles per hour, according to Pitch Effects. Lance Lynn's at 94 miles an hour last season, and who knows if he could have done the 2019 94.6 miles an hour. It's a game of inches, so every tenth of a decimal point counts here. But 94, he kept it above 94, and at his advanced age, that's pretty impressive that he could still throw it out there. And there's something else I wanted to take a look before we move on. And yeah, he still has a swinging strike percentage over 11%. So he misses some bats. I mean, it's not like this is a total loss for the White Sox as they try to go for it now. And now you have a starting rotation of Lucas Giolito, Dallas Keuchel, Lance Lynn. I mean, that's a really good top of the rotation, full of veterans and you got your leaders right there. And now you don't need to depend on Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech to carry the back end of that rotation, because now you have some guys who have been there before pitching for you. So there's that. Let's see, what else did I notice here? Okay, yeah, like I said, Lance Lynn can miss some bats. Dane Dunning, at 26 years old, he's still developing. Like, I don't think so, fam. No, you're not a rookie. You're not. Yeah. So let's calm down, everybody. Everything's fine for the White Sox. The next trade looks like Raisel Iglesias to the Angels for Noe Ramirez, two 31-year-olds. This, I guess, the Reds, I almost call them the Bengals, but the Reds wanted the service time that Noe Ramirez still has left, while Rice.
I think you froze on me.
The bullpen. What do you think about that one, Leon?
Oh, sorry, you froze me a bit there. On Iglesias, he's a proven closer in the league. He had a rough year last year, but the year before, nailed down some saves for a bad Reds team. But he provides strikeouts, and for an Angels team that actually needs starting pitching, I mean, it's a good move for them. They had plenty of had a bad bullpen there, but it's a good move for LA, assuming they get a proven starter. But it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, Iglesias is kind of shaky, but it is what it is. I mean, the Angels have had issues trying to bolster their lineup, or their bullpen, I should say. And last year was no exception, despite the fact that they did have some decent arms show up in spurts. Unfortunately, they're not consistent enough to be world beaters at this point and to help out, Mike Trout, get those playoff appearances that he so desperately needs. But unfortunately, like I said, what can you do? I mean, the most you can do is try and take baby steps to improving those aspects of your team. So, but like I said, Raisel Iglesias is a weird one for me, because there are times where he shows that he's so dominant, and other times where he just shows how awful he is. So anyway, let's see here. Okay, so I guess you can see my face now, right? Is that the case?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know. This is why I'm always kind of shaky when I'm in the control here, because things can happen. So, but I'm glad that I'm audio. You can still hear me. Let's see, Raisel Iglesias. Yeah, he had a decent season last year, but I don't know how much you know about Nate Lowe, but Nate Lowe was one of the Tampa Rays big time prospects. And it looked like he was going to get some at bats this upcoming season, and then boom, he gets traded and becomes expendable. And the Rangers are able to acquire two guys from the Rays, and all they had to give up was a starting pitcher by the name of Leo Crawford, not Leon Crawford, Leo Crawford, 24 years old. Any thoughts on this sneaky under the radar trade here, Leon?
Figure Nate Lowe in Texas. Texas is a hitter's ballpark, even if in the new ballpark. Less pressure. Tampa coming off the World Series appearance. I mean, granted, probably get more at bats than he would have had in Tampa. Probably have better protection. It's a great buy low candidate for them.
All righty. Let's see here. Free agents. That's what I wanted to talk about. Free agents. Let's quickly move on as we got a lot to cover today. Adam Eaton. This is what I want to ask you about because I'm really trying to be positive here. Because the last time Adam Eaton was in town, he was a cancer. Let's call it for what it is. He was a cancer in Arizona. He was a cancer with the White Sox. And he goes to the Nationals. Then we just talked about Dane Dunning. This is the reason why the White Sox got Dane Dunning was because of Adam Eaton. Adam Eaton was able to get the White Sox three pitching prospects: Lucas Giolito, Reynaldo Lopez, Dane Dunning, and now Dane Dunning's gone. Reynaldo Lopez might be going to the bullpen, and all we got was Lucas Giolito as one of the better starting pitchers in all of Major League Baseball. So, and then we end up getting Adam Eaton back. But I don't know, and I still remember what happened the last time he was here. But apparently with the Washington Nationals, and you are a big Washington Nationals fan, apparently he was on his best behavior. Is that what happened down there? Is that accurate to assess there, Leon?
Well, yeah, I guess anything is good behavior compared to what Bryce Harper had. So
Ooh.
you look at that. I mean, he was instrumental into winning the World Series. It just sucked that he was injured for a good portion of the time he was here.
Yeah.
But his defense declined. He couldn't really stay healthy. He lost his speed. And it became evident that they weren't going to pick up that option. You look at that trade way back when, you say, oh, they gave up a lot. And in essence, they did. But you look at Lopez, he has good stuff, but he can't control it. Dunning turned into what he turned into, and credit to Giolito, he found his control and turned into an AL Cy Young contender. So it was worth the price for the championship, but getting Adam Eaton back for that young team, for that lineup, I think he's a perfect two-hitter. If he's not playing right field every day, he's serviceable. Tim Anderson and Eaton at the top of that lineup for Abreu and those guys, it should really help a lot.
It should. I mean, especially with Adam Eaton's contact skills, it should. But he is getting old. You mentioned that he's been oft injured. And yeah, he's a pesky hitter, but it seems like there's really no pop in his bat anymore, or any pop that was there is no longer there. So, and he doesn't do enough to draw walks. But again, that's a lineup of big boppers, and Eaton makes enough contact where he can kind of balance that lineup out a little bit. So that's a good thing. And he's a left-handed bat. For better or for worse, he's left-handed, and that should also provide some balance. So in that regard, it's a good deal. He better be on his best behavior. It's bad enough that we got Tony La Russa trying to play sheriff, but now you bring in Adam Eaton to also play the same role. I'm kind of nervous about it. I'll admit, I'm a little nervous. And you already have Tim Anderson being outspoken about that idea. Like, if you think that you're bringing in these guys, including Dallas Keuchel, who he called out this past week, if you think we're here because we need to be controlled, you have another thing coming. So I might as well ask you a follow-up. How do you see that clubhouse dynamic with the White Sox unfolding in 2021?
I will say it will get interesting if they get off to a slow start.
Mm-hmm.
La Russa with the track record and, the dynamic in the clubhouse, it can be toxic for veteran guys looking with a high expectation, but I guess that's why you would have veteran leadership. It was confusing as to why they fired Renteria, but if they have a plan, they have to see it through, and it would be incredibly risky to mess up the dynamic and vibe of a young team with so many voices coming in saying that you should do this. That's what made the White Sox so good.
And I agree, man.
Let them play.
And I agree that they should. I mean, it's a young team. It's an exciting team. They have a lot of holes, but they're learning, they're growing. And I just don't want that dynamic to be messed up. I want it to be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, well, we'll see what happens. I'm trying to be optimistic, Leon. For once in my life, I'm trying to be optimistic about the White Sox, and they keep doing all these things that make me scratch my head. And that's with people telling me, well, the Twins are going to be bad, Cleveland's going to be bad. Yeah, well, they were supposed to be bad in 2020 as well, and they once again passed over the White Sox in the division this year. White Sox blew the lead, and they end up having to travel to Oakland. And you mentioned how disheartening that was for them to lose out. But anyway, I digress. That we'll see what happens. We'll see if they make any other moves. Stop laughing at me. Moving on to Carlos Santana, not the guitarist, but speaking of which, the former Cleveland Indian first baseman, 35 years old, signs with the Kansas City Royals, which is a weird move because the Royals they're the Royals, right? but
Yeah.
Good on them for realizing that they need some power to kind of balance that speed out. What do you think about that?
I think this is similar to a move what we see in basketball. A veteran guy going to a young team, provide some leadership, and eventually probably get traded at the deadline for some young prospects or draft picks in that case. So, he'll perform for a good half of the season and, provide what he needs to provide and, be traded to a contender midway through. So good for Kansas City realizing this is the best way to acquire assets without having to draft picks to move forward. So good for them.
Yeah, and whatever. Even somebody, I forgot who it was. Maybe it was Sean or maybe some other podcast I was listening to. But they did mention that this is the time for these non-contending teams to take advantage of a really bare free agent market. And sure enough, the Royals show up big, and well, not big, but big enough for them, where they get to acquire Carlos Santana and provide that on base presence, that power presence for that team. That's still, I don't know, man. I want to say that they're rebuilding and developing, but it seems like they're on a crossroads because a lot of their players that were in their farm system a couple years ago are already up in the big leagues, and they're still an incomplete team. So where do you go from here? What do you do with Adalberto Mondesi? What do you do with Whit Merrifield and all those guys? I mean, is that how you see the Royals too, or am I overthinking this? What do you think?
I think the Royals have a bunch of players that, you're right, they are in a crossroads, but I also think they have a bunch of players that they have to move. I think they held on to Merrifield too long. Salvador Perez, they kind of got caught when he got injured, so he's the biggest trade chip that they have, and they kept a lot of their players in the championship team too long. But like I said, they're stuck with middling draft picks and guys that were injured. Mondesi, I really think is a player. Their pitching is just god awful. That's what they have to rebuild. But guys like Merrifield and Perez will probably be moved, if not this trade deadline, then in the off season.
Yeah, next off season, you mean, right?
Right.
Yeah, and you mentioned their pitching staff, and I want to take a look really quick because I remember there's like nothing there, and I want to see how nothing it is. Yeah, Danny Duffy, Brad Keller, Mike Minor, Brady Singer, who was I think he was a former first round pick, who has not lived up to that first round potential, I at least in my opinion, and Chris Bubich, who was one of their highly touted prospects, but in the grand scheme of things, he's not that highly touted. When you think of all the other major leagues. Put it this way: overall rank according to Fangraphs, he's the 110th best prospect in 2020. So think about that. He's your number 5 starter. Their bullpen is where it's at, though, with Josh Stallman and Scott Barlow at the back end. But everything else is an adventure. Everything else is kind of a mystery. So yeah, they got a lot of work to do. But yeah, we talked about all those other guys. Jorge Soler is another guy. Hunter Dozier. What do you do with Hunter Dozier? He's nearing 30 years old. Yeah, it's just a lot of mismatch of pieces over there. I don't know what the hell they're doing anymore. So it's like that's like the worst spot to be. Is like you're not that bad to be waiting for these prospects to come on board, but you're not that good to be contending. You're in hell. Okay, so you're waiting for Bobby Witt. He's due when? What's the ETA? Early 2022. So 21's another wasted year. So that's it. It's like there's nothing else. Anyway, yeah, this isn't Royals talk. I was just kind of curious. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go.
Oh no, it was because they tried Michael Franco at third, and then they kind of hit a home run. Got lucky with Rosenthal last year, and they traded him. So it's a hit or miss with the Royals. Mostly miss, but yeah, I digress. Stillman is a beast.
It's big misses. I mean, Daniel Lynch. Yeah, he's supposed to be in Double-A. He's our number 2, number 3 prospect. So that shows me that they're a ways away, man. They're just just playing for the sake of playing. You're not doing anything, and I don't know. This is like the Orioles from last year. When I look at the Orioles roster, it's like you're not doing anything. You're not tanking all the way through, and you're not competing at all. So why do you exist? What is your purpose in Major League Baseball? And that's kind of where the Royals are up this upcoming season. So anyway, that's enough talk about the Royals. It's really depressing. David Dahl, this is another guy that we constantly bring up on this podcast. We brought him up last week on the show, where he was kind of surprisingly non-tendered by the Colorado Rockies after the season that he went through. He's only 27 years old. He was supposed to be kind of a 5-tool player with the Rockies, the next big thing for that outfield. Never materialized, got a spleen removed, and then for his trouble, he gets let go by the Rockies. Gets picked up by the Texas Rangers, who have been very busy this offseason. Any hope for David Dahl in Texas for you, Leon?
Again, Texas is a hitter's ballpark, but that lineup again, we've now with Nate Lau in there, so Texas is a team that does a lot of moves, but doesn't really get anywhere because they fail so often. They tried to get Rendon. They had Kluber, and that kind of failed. So you look at Dahl, high, low risk, high reward type guy. I mean, for them, it works out fine. They're kind of like in the middle of nowhere. So if it doesn't work out, oh well.
Yeah.
If it works out, great. And Dahl is a proven hitter. It just has to stay on the field. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I've always had high hopes for the guy. He looks like he could be one of those power speed combination. It's like you said though. It's like, can you stay on the field long enough to materialize your potential? And the Rangers, I'm looking at their prospect list, and that's another team that's kind of in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we thought the Royals were in the crossroads. This is who they're crossroading with. The Rangers they have no farm system whatsoever. Put it this way, their number 1 prospect for 2020, according to Fangraphs, Yeri Rodriguez, is number 97 overall. So no, and he's supposed to be early 2022 is the estimated time of arrival. They're screwed too, man. Another wasted season for them, and that's a shame because they're in an even easier division than the White Sox are, or the Royals are, I should say. Like if they really wanted to, they can actually go out there and attack, and they're just kind of stuck on neutral. And I'm looking at their lineup; it's awful. It's just Joey Gallo trying to do something with this lineup of mismatched pieces again. They have no bench to speak of. They have a very questionable starting pitching. And the bullpen sucks. So no, this is bad.
It's a bad team. Like these teams really didn't take advantage of the shortened season, as far as bringing up their prospects and fast tracking them, which I thought Baltimore did a really good job of doing. But Texas, it was really caught in hell. You got guys like Odor and Andrews. These are your chips that you can move to accelerate the process, but now they make moves like Lau and Dahl to really try to make up for it because they struck out as well in free agency trying to get Rendon. So we'll see what Texas does and further along here.
Yeah, I was looking for Elvis Andrews, and according to Fangraphs, he's now on the bench. What was the point? What was the point of extending him? What was the point of keeping him around? Why didn't you trade him? And now his value continues. He's like his number one value is that he can steal bases. He's not even going to be doing that for you to showcase for other teams who might be interested. No. I don't like this team at all, man. This is really bad for both fantasy and real life baseball. And I'm sorry, you're going to say something over there?
I was gonna say, he probably only catches the Shields, but that's the last time you'll see a playoff game in Texas.
Well, it was a good run. I mean, unless Major League Baseball does what Scott Boras wants them to do and just have it on a neutral field, maybe Texas will be hosting another World Series if it was up to Scott Boras.
Yeah, I mean, we know the Cowboys won't be hosting any playoff games, so Texas is kind of dry right now. So maybe.
Well, there's always the Mavericks, so there's always the Mavericks up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and the Dallas Stars. I believe they went to the Stanley Cup final, but nobody cares about hockey, so whatever. Outside of Canada, right? So
Right.
we'll move on to the last free agent, that big name that was acquired, big name in quotation marks, right? But again, it's these middling teams or these crossroad teams who are trying to take advantage of everybody else kind of sleeping, everybody else kind of waiting around for George Springer, JT Realmuto, DJ LeMahieu to see what they're gonna do. So the Mets were like, all right, well, now's the time for us to strike, and we're gonna get our catcher that we've been needing since forever now, since Mike Piazza probably, maybe Todd Pratt, Todd Hundley, and now you have James McCann. Is it James McCann or James McCant? I don't know, but he's your starting catcher, whether you like it or don't like it. Once again, James McCann uses a hot streak in the second half to be relevant again. So I know that Sean, unfortunately, he's out sick with what looks like, at the very least, is the flu game, right? He did not want to step up to that challenge, I guess, right? Hope you feel better, Sean. I'm just joking around. But James McCann, he wanted to do a little rant against James McCann, and he's not going to be able to do it, but we'll do it for him. I don't get this. 4 years, $40 million. I know they need a catcher, but I don't think this is your answer to that question at catcher. Do you see it differently there, Leon? What do you think?
I do a bit. Yeah, you look at last year with Wilson Ramos, he was a terrible pitch framer. His offense at the plate was sporadic, and he was god awful slow. The big fish is JT, but you worry about giving him a 5-year and $100 million deal, knowing you have other needs to fill, such as center field. So you look elsewhere in McCann, and he is a defensive pitch framing catcher who has serviceable offensive skills. You look at that pitching staff, that's the strength of their team. If not like DeGrom needs any help, but you look at guys like Stroman, you look at guys like Matz, Peterson, those guys, if they can benefit, and that bullpen, if they can benefit from getting a few outs from their catcher, it's well worth it, because their offense is well enough with Dom Smith and Alonso and McNeil, but you don't need an offensive first catcher. So I don't think it's as bad as they made it out to be.
Well, here's why I think it's bad, right? And I know this because White Sox fans will tell me this. Well, the smart ones will. Most White Sox fans are kind of pissed that James McCann lost his starting role when Yasmani Grandal got signed. But there's a reason why McCann has always been just jumping around and toiling around and as a backup, never was able to take that starting position into his own. It's because not only is he been more bad than good offensively, but his fielding is kind of questionable. Last year was, according to Fangraphs, that was his best frame year, where he was positive. Otherwise, according to Fangraphs' framing metrics, he's at negative 36.4. And I know people are going to bring up, well, Lucas Giolito was able to pitch a no-hitter with him, but let's face it, last year was a fluky year. So it only makes sense that a fluky catcher with a fluky starting pitching was able to give you a fluky result. And so, yeah, he's 31 years old. And his offense is suspect, man. I don't trust him. We've seen him do this with the Tigers before. We see him do this with the White Sox before. And the Mets decided, yeah, we want more of that for the next 4 years. And if you've been listening to this podcast, everybody out there, I've been wanting the Mets to go after JT Realmuto aggressively. And I don't know if it's the price tag that scared them off or the fact that they would give up a first round pick, which Sean will tell you, hey, we do very well with our first round pick, so we don't want to, let them go away from us. But I don't know. I don't think this is your answer. I honestly don't think, but we'll see. I'm trying to having an open mind. Maybe they think they can do something long term with James McCann, but I'm just not buying it right now. I'm kind of perplexed by it all. Go ahead.
I also think the Mets are also a bit behind the 8 ball. Now, granted, they brought in a new owner, spending money, so if there's assets to spend. Now, the Mets were awful at throwing out runners.
Yeah.
You look at these teams in the division, you got Trey Turner, you have Acuna, and you have the Marlins, they'll run all day. If they improve in that aspect, that'll improve their defense, it'll improve their pitching, and who knows, it also might gain them a few wins. You mentioned the offense. The White Sox offense picked up in the second half of that shortened season. Mm-hmm. Look at this Mets offense, with this Mets lineup with Conforto and the rest of his team. He doesn't have to be great offensively. He just doesn't have to be an automatic out. So and a non-automatic out with some speed, I think he'll be serviceable. You got JT, who, if you give him a 5-year deal, he's not catching all 5 years. You're gonna have to move him to first base at some point. And the Mets have a log jam at first base, so that's not going to happen. You can commit to McCann for 4 years, see where you go. And I've been saying this, kind of probably. I think Realmuto still goes to the Nationals.
To the Nationals?
Yeah.
Wow, I can see that. Nationals are not shy about spending money and giving away first-round picks, so I could see it happening. To your point, the stolen base thing, apparently, according to Fangraphs, their advanced metrics, they do rate him pretty positively with keeping runners in check. So that is true on your part as far as these metrics go. But yeah, everything else about him is, for me, it's just I don't see 4-year starter. I see a guy who's going to need some shares. And Thomas Nido had a decent season as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they go 50-50 eventually with these two, but again, I'm trying to be positive. This is listen, I'm trying to be very positive about the Mets. So I believe that they had enough players. I mean, I just from fantasy baseball alone, I picked up all the Mets players that I could handle in a league full of Mets fans. Because I see them and individually, they are really good. And they should be better than what they have shown collectively. There's no reason why the Marlins make the playoffs and the Mets couldn't. We've seen the Mets, the Marlins depth in their depth chart and their roster. It's awful. It has got awful. Yeah, Matt Joyce starting in right field, and yeah, no Mets fan would ever trade places with the Marlins right now. Not even with the playoff appearance, and the fact that you have a chance with a new owner to make a big splash, and they decide to just do a little drip instead. I'm trying to be positive because I believe in this new owner. I believe what they're gonna try to do is in the right direction. But this is off to a bad start right here. I don't like it. You're a little bit more optimistic than I am. I'm really trying not to be too negative, but like I said, I think JT Realmuto, even with the idea that he's getting old and wear and tear, and he might play first base, I still believe he would have been the better option for the next 3 or 4 years, as opposed to James McCann, who I see no upside to him, and not even a safe floor to begin with. So anyway, that's enough about James McCann. I don't want to talk about him anymore. He's making me angry. Where's my $40 million? Jesus Christ. All right, which brings us to our next topic here. And that's what we're going to talk about some starting pitching. And the way I put this in my mind, the way I framed it, pitch framing. I'm pitching a frame pitching. The way I framed it to Sean was we should do a show where we look outside the top 50 starting pitchers. Because from a fantasy baseball standpoint, the top 48 pitchers, that's basically one pitcher for all 12 teams. So it's four starting pitchers for a 12-team league. All right, that's four borderline ace pitchers, right? It's a good 1 through 4. But you still need more starting pitchers, right? You still need other guys to come in and help you out. And the trend has been you wait around a little bit for pitching because there's so many of them that kind of do the same thing. They're all interchangeable, right? So let's take a look. Let's take a look how interchangeable it is. And I got the Fantrax average draft position so far right now as of this winter. And the first name that I see here are guys like Aaron Savali, David Price, Chris Bassett, Tony Gonsolin, so on and so forth. Leon, let's go between 50 and 55. What name there sticks out to you the most between those between that range from 50 to 55?
I do like Tony Gonsolin. On the Dodgers, I think he's a benefactor of a good lineup. I think they'll extend his innings next year as well. He has a high K rate, and that's what I'm looking for. Going outside the top 50. You ask yourself, do you take an ace from a bad team? Do you take a guy with a high K rate, or do you have a guy who eats innings? So Tony Gonsolin, in this case, to me, checks a couple of those boxes. He's not an ace, but he does fill up the strike zone and miss bats. So I like Gonsolin in this on this list.
Dude, he's not an ace, but he has ace stuff. Ace is the place. Ace quality stuff, man. I really like this kid. I tell Sean all the time, the only thing that sucks about Tony Gonsolin is like he plays for the Dodgers, who like to baby their starting pitchers, and for good reason. But from a fantasy standpoint, it's very frustrating because you want to see these guys just go every 5 days. Just go, man. Go 5 innings. Get those easy wins with a good lineup with the Dodgers. Get those high strikeouts. Get those big whips and big ERAs. And of course, it's the opposite with the ERAs and whips, but you know what I mean. And I mean, last year, Tony Gonsolin had a whip of 0.84. I mean, yeah, and I know it's a small sample size because he didn't pitch a lot of innings because he would always like either be an opener or be a piggyback, whatever the terms are now. But I just want to see a traditional starting pitcher in Tony Gonsolin that can go at least 5 innings, try to qualify for the win, get those quality starts, yield those high strikeouts, and win me a championship. Is that too much to ask?
I mean, it shouldn't be. He went 6 innings 4 times last year. Dave Roberts is known for coddling his starting pitchers. If you had Walker Buehler last year, you were frustrated. So, I think with a more traditional schedule, I think you'll see these pitchers extended more. So, if I were in the middle rounds, he would be one of the top guys I just take off the board immediately.
And especially with the names that I mentioned, Aaron Savali, David Price, Chris Bassett, Tony Gonsolin, Christian Javier, and Zach Davis. Tony Gonsolin is the guy with the most upside, so I don't blame you for picking him. But I do, like I said, I do see David Price also with the Dodgers, unless he's still with the Dodgers, right? He didn't get traded or anything, right? He just didn't play last year.
Right. He just opted out last year.
Yeah, it's a shame. He could have gotten another championship, but oh well. He probably would have blown it anyway. But I mean, David Price is well rested. He's an established veteran. He's not going anywhere unless they do something with that big contract of his. So at the very least, I know he has the stuff and he has the track record to be. I want to choose my words carefully, Leon, before I get called out. To be a serviceable starting pitcher this late in the draft. There you go. So, I know Sean would, if he were here, he would probably be hyping up Christian Javier. I believe he's with the Astros, and I know he would be hyping him up right now at this point. Let's take a look at numbers 56 through 60. We got Tristan McKenzie, Dallas Keuchel, who we just mentioned, Tyler Mahle, Joe Musgrove, and Andrew Haney. Again, it's a hell of a decent to even maybe good group of pitchers right here, but which one sticks out to you the most here?
I really like what I saw out of Tristan McKenzie last year. Strong finish. He'll fill out his frame over the offseason, but he had a high strikeout rate. You look at Cleveland, their pitching development staff is, among the top in the league. So it's nowhere to go but up. And you're facing lineups like KC and Detroit, even with Carlos Santana over in KC. I have faith in Francona and that pitching development staff to really elevate McKenzie to the next level.
Yeah, man, I like him a lot too. I just need to know if he's going to be guaranteed innings, if he's going to be guaranteed a starting rotation spot. And it looks like he might be. I mean, the Indians just continue to trade pieces away on their big league roster. And like you said, and we mentioned on this podcast before, Cleveland has just proven to be a pitching factory. As you know, they get rid of some guys and they just keep developing other guys to take over the established veterans who keep getting moved for more prospects and for cheaper sources of production. And it's pretty remarkable and amazing. Of all the teams, Cleveland, it's just crazy to me. Go ahead.
And I was saying, you're right. Of all of them, they had Kluber and a bunch of other guys, but they just keep churning them out, and it's credit to them.
And we mentioned Aaron Savali at number 50 at the average draft position, otherwise known as ADP. Right now, Cleveland has Tristan McKenzie at the number 5 spot. But I mean, look at this! Look at this pitching staff: Shane Bieber, Carlos Carrasco, Zach Plesac, and Aaron Savali, and then Tristan McKenzie at number 5. And that doesn't even include all the other guys they have in their minor league system and who are ready to step up if they need to. It's usually these nobodies, these no-name nobodies that nobody knows about. Say that 20 times fast. And Logan Allen, I mean, I remember Logan Allen from the San Diego Padres. He's still around. So it's ridiculous. It's a wealth of riches over there. My guy, I do like McKenzie, but if I want to pick someone different. My guy is Tyler Mahle, who stepped up for me in all my fantasy leagues late in the year last year, coming out of the bullpen and into the starting rotation, and then getting out of the starting rotation back into the bullpen. And now with the Reds getting rid of Trevor Bauer, or not re-signing Trevor Bauer, there's no way Bauer is coming back to the Cincinnati. But now they have a rotation spot for him, and he proved to be really good last year. High velocity, high strikeout rate. Jesus, and I know it's kind of murky because he was going, like, it seemed like he was going back and forth between the bullpen and the starting rotation. But 11.33 K per 9. The walks are a little bit of a problem, but I'm sure you could get that fixed soon enough with another year of seasoning. And now that he would have a rotation spot available to him on the ready. But the thing about that I like about him is that he's still pitching with a high velocity of about 93, 94 miles an hour, which is kind of close to what Lance Lynn has, which I was marveling at the beginning of this podcast. And then here's the big one, 13.8 swinging strike rate. That's the highest of his career. That's the highest number I've mentioned so far in this podcast. He induces swings. It's just, I like where he's come from. He's come a long way from being that whatever pitcher with the Reds to becoming do I dare say, top of the rotation starting pitcher. So any thoughts on Tyler Mahle on your end?
I mean, you can't dispute the stuff. The numbers show it. The only thing you can dispute is how sustainable it is. Mm-hmm. Can he go 2-3 times through a lineup? Is that possible? But the innings are there. The Reds seem to be going through a rebuilding phase, so he'll have all the time to work that out. And if the numbers show that the 13 K per 9, I'm willing to take a chance of that, as well as the flexibility of him having a reliever pitching spot. So I can always throw him in there as a stash.
Yeah, this is the spot that we look for those stashes, right? I mean, like I said, you should already have, theoretically speaking, because nothing's theoretical, but theoretically speaking, you should already have 4 starting pitchers at this point of this list here, of this ADP list. Now we're just looking for those upside guys, those guys who are not being drafted high enough, those guys who are being overlooked. I mean, what we call them sleepers, right? I mean, I don't like to label things because my brain doesn't work that way. But for you guys would know, everybody else would know them as sleepers and deep sleepers and post high sleepers or whatever the hell. I don't like using labels like that. But this is it. This is where you try to get those guys who everybody's overlooking, and they're on the bench today, and they're going to be in your starting lineup during the championship game. At least that's the hope. Moving on to 61 through 65, Chris Sale, Nate Pearson, Jose Urquidi, Brady Singer, and Zach Eflin. Who do you like from that list?
Now, I will say last year, being that it was such a weird year, I drafted a lot of rookies last year with the expecting them to come up at some point. So I drafted Nate Pearson. I drafted Sixto Sanchez, and he turned out to be amazing. So although Pearson started out okay and then got hurt, I like where Toronto is going. They're heavy in the free agency market. He shows a plus fastball. You worry about the AL East lineups. If you were to look for a guy, I would take a flyer on Pearson based on his upside.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm kind of surprised that he's getting drafted this late, because fantasy leaguers love upside guys, especially highly touted prospects like Nate Pearson, who was at one point, I thought I saw him in the top 10 last year. I could have sworn I saw him top 10. I know Sean is a big believer in Nate Pearson. If you guys pay attention to what he was doing with his that baseball simulator that he was doing, I forgot, Out of the Ballpark Baseball, I think it was, I forget. But Nate Pearson was the big piece of that starting rotation of his for the Colorado Rockies, for the make-believe Colorado Rockies team that he was running. And I believe they won a championship. So kudos to Sean for showing his front office medal there. And Nate Pearson was one of his aces. So I like Pearson a lot. We need to see more of him. But yeah, of those other guys that you mentioned, I'd probably take him over everybody else there. But, I want to be different. So I'm going to go with Jose Urquidi, which is another, listen, Jose Urquidi of the Houston Astros. He was a guy I was I was trying to get in all my mock drafts late in the drafts. I was a big believer in this kid. Only 25 years old. He got hurt last year, and his numbers were not that good. When he did come back, was able to come back and pitch for 5 games. But like I said, he came back from injury. I still want to believe in him. I still want to see good things out of him, because there's people were sleeping on him last year. They're gonna even sleep on him more so this year because of the unknown that he brings. But I want to say that 2020 was a fluke. It doesn't count. I'm still focusing on 2019, on his 2019 production, and hoping that we get a repeat. Again, a guy with a healthy fastball at 93 miles an hour on average. So it's not like he lost any velocity last year. It's just that he was rusty from not being able to pitch right away. And he's still a work in progress, Leon. But last year, even with that work in progress, he was still inducing a 51.3 swing rate. Anything above 50, that's every other pitch these hitters are swinging at. So he induces swings. The swinging strike percentage wasn't there in 2020, but in 2019, it was at 12%. So there is some swing and miss to him in terms of those numbers. So that's what gets me excited. So I'm hoping if I want to pick someone outside of Nate Pearson, this is my number 2 guy right here. So I'm hoping for some Jose Urquidy. Any thoughts on him really quick before I move on to the next list here?
Oh, no, I agree on Urquidy. He's a guy who's guaranteed a spot. I don't think the Astros will be any good, but as another section you look for, aces or number 2 guys on bad teams. Verlander is going to be out next year, so he's guaranteed innings. The only thing you worry about is Dusty Baker, but he's going to get his innings, and you look for the progression, because I like what I saw from him in 2019. He showed some real grit in the playoffs, swinging this stuff. And you're right, 2020 seemed to be a fluke. It's a good flyer to take, good player to take a flyer on.
Yeah, I agree there. And I still believe in the Astros. I mean, they have wow. I mean, looking at their lineup, everything is good from 1 through 6. Then you get through 7 through 9, and it's like, ooh boy, you sure you want to go with that? The last 3 guys on the lineup, according to a roster resource over at Fangraphs, Miles Straw, Chaz McCormick, and Martin Maldonado, who's their catcher. So I mean, at least he's established. We know what he can do. Is those other 2 guys I haven't even heard of before until right now, and their bench is even worse. But their rotation is still decent. Zach Greinke, Framber Valdez, Lance McCullers Jr., Jose Urquidy, and Christian Javier. So there's still some hope. Bullpen doesn't look as dominant as in years past, so that might be a train wreck. But that rotation might surprise a few people, I think.
They'll be better than Texas.
Oh, gee. Hey, look at that. At least they're better than the Rangers. They look, on paper, they look way better than the Rangers, who have no idea what the hell they're doing. At least we know what the Astros are trying to do. They're just trying to weather the storm from not having any first or second round picks in the next 2 drafts. And there's a reason why Dusty Baker is here, because they should be in win now mode, but not with that lineup and not with that bullpen.
No.
But they'll try with that rotation, and that's not a bad rotation over there. Anyway, 66 through 70. John Means, Mackenzie Gore, James Paxton, Corey Kluber, and I'm going to butcher this name, but it's Kwang Hyung Kim. Who does Leon like on this list?
This is weird, and I'm going to go with James. I'm going to go with James Paxton.
Yeah,
I think he suffered from just being on the Yankees. I think there is something to pitching at Yankee Stadium, having that, pressure and mystique on you, because once you get past the first inning, he's lights out.
Yeah.
The problem is you're down 3-0 before that happens. You look at his numbers in Seattle, his K rate is there. Depending on what team he goes to, I think he will end up in a central team. But I like where Paxton is going. He's projected probably to be a number 3 guy. So you're going to get innings, and lefties stay in this league forever.
No, that is true, and I love James Paxton, but that's the thing with him, right? It's who are we talking about? Who's always hurt? David Dahl. The thing with James Paxton is he can never stay healthy. I loved him in Seattle, but he's never pitched more than 30 games. Started more than 30 games, I should say. He's never pitched over 160 innings, which doesn't matter at this point. I guess not, but he was supposed to be that guy. He was supposed to be that future ace with the Mariners, and he showed flashes, but it wasn't enough to be consistent. It wasn't enough for them to believe. And then sure enough, you hear from the Yankee fans all the time how much they hate this guy. So because he doesn't show up, he's nowhere to be found, and he's always hurt, and they call him you know what. So, but yeah, I like that pick though, because he is an established veteran. He does still have a little bit of upside, not enough, but a little bit. And a little bit enough where I'm interested in to see if this upcoming year, and again, depending where he goes, if he goes to the Reds, even though the Reds have a very short field in terms of the home runs in Cincinnati, I mean, that's a nice fallback option for James Paxton. I mean, we saw what happened with Trevor Bauer and Sonny Gray, and Luis Castillo is always the goods down there. So, and Tyler Mahle, who's we just mentioned, is always trying to turn his career around at the moment. You might have something down there. And James Paxton might be a nice bounce back candidate. Again, depends where he goes. Anyway, my guy, I by default, because I really don't like this list of 5, but my guy is Mackenzie Gore, just because of the known the prospect notoriety that we've been kind of waiting for him for a while, and now's a good time as any for him to step up and take over a rotation spot, I think. I mean, is he worse than Joey Lucchesi, who's listed as a number 5 starter? I don't think so. I know you still have Mike Clevenger, but he just had Tommy John surgery, so he's out. So yeah, I really like Mackenzie Gore here. It's now or never for him. Mackenzie Gore is still the number 1 prospect for the San Diego Padres. He's expected to start the year at AAA, but I'm ready. I'm ready for that debut, man. I'm just kind of anxiously waiting for him to step up and take what's rightfully his. Any thoughts on Gore there?
Yeah, I mean, I think a strong spring training would really help his confidence. I think he'll be fast-tracked if that happens, knowing Clevenger is out and the Padres have high expectations. So they want to hit the ground running. But the only thing I guess you worry about with that is, the whole service time manipulation. So
yeah,
Mackenzie Gore. Yeah, Mackenzie Gore, you can probably draft and stash depending on the number of teams in your league.
You have no choice. I mean, he's better than that list that I just gave you, right? And he's probably better than some of those pitchers that we mentioned in the previous list. And at this point, you just have to be very patient. If you draft him, you just got to stash him and forget that he exists until it's time for him to be called up and you realize, oh, wait, he's on my team. So I don't need to go on the waiver wire. And because let's face it, he's going to be the number one priority the week or the day that he gets called up by the Padres and is penciled in to make a start for them and for the big league team. Right. It's going to happen. Now, the service time, I'm really bad with that stuff, but I agree. It's very unpredictable because you don't know what the Padres are going to do because they gave up service time for Fernando Tatis. That doesn't mean that they're going to do the same for all of their prospects. They basically did Tatis a favor because they were trying to do Machado a favor. That was probably one of the perks of bringing him in, right? I want to play with this Tatis guy. And I know that is because that's the big reason why he was called up when everybody thought he was going to start in the minors was because Manny Machado wanted him up. Like right now, 2019, let's go. I want him to be my shortstop, and I'll more than be happy to move to third base, even though I told all the other teams that I would not move to third base. But he made that exception, and that counts for something. So we'll see. I don't like this. I don't want to go into a rant, but this is very frustrating. It's like any other sport. We just did together, you and I, we did the NBA draft, right? And we're excited as all hell because we're going to see tomorrow's superstars get drafted right there. Literally tomorrow. Not next year, not 2 years from now, not 3 years from now. Literally tomorrow. You just show highlights of Lonzo Ball and Isaac Okoro and Ball is Life. And odds are those guys are going to be getting some decent minutes when the league gets going again around Christmas. They're not going to toil away in the Gatorade league or in Europe or in whatever. They're going to be on the bench and they're going to play anywhere between 18 and 20, 25 minutes a game. And you're going to see them develop in live NBA action. Mackenzie Gore, who's one of the better prospects out there and a firmer first round pick of major hype around him, we're under the mercy of the Padres to kind of forget about the long-term aspect of things and bring him up now so we can be excited for him. By the time we get excited for him, it doesn't matter. Like the season's already underway and it's the dog days of summer and it's like, I don't know. I hate that about Major League Baseball. Like, well, it's smart because they get an extra year out of him. Okay. Meanwhile, your sport suffers for it. It's such a stupid system, but whatever. Like, guys, my thing is, if he's good enough to help you now, bring him up right now. Like you mentioned, if he gets off to a really good spring training, why do you need him to go back to the minor leagues?
Yeah, and I see a lot of teams trending away from service time manipulation. You saw the Mets do it with Alonso. You saw the Nationals do it with Soto. You saw the Braves do it with Acuna. If you have these guys willing to help you now, why wait around? Championships aren't guaranteed. And look at what's happening with all the minor league teams being disbanded. Where are these guys going to go? So you might as well bring them up, have them take their lumps, because what are you going to do? Toil away in the minors? Just bring them up, get that experience, and see what you have. It just makes no sense. And I think we're trending away from service time manipulation because it also leads to bad blood on the back end as well.
Yeah, you're seeing that with Chris Bryant with the Cubs. It ended up being a good move for the Cubs, but now years later, we don't know what to do with Chris Bryant. Or is he going to come back? Should we trade him? Everybody knows you're trying to trade him. So who knows if his value is even there? And not just that, but he's been exposed. All you did with this service time manipulation is you exposed Chris Bryant. Like there's nothing hiding from the fact that Chris Bryant has been not only struggling producing, but all the scout numbers from the StatCast numbers are unleashing to the public. Everybody has access to those numbers. And Sean will be the first one to tell you. Sean, and I'm thinking about you, buddy. I hope you get better. Seriously. Sean will be the first one to tell you, yeah, there's something going wrong with Chris Bryant. I don't know if he's hurt still, or if he's maybe this bad, or if he lost his batting eye, whatever it is. These teams see what we see. And there's really nothing about Chris Bryant that makes you believe, like, wow, this Chris Bryant, he's gonna not yield you a lot of prospects, so you watch out. First of all, teams are getting smart to that. And secondly, even if he goes out to free agency, I fail to see any team wanting to give him the money that Scott Boras wants from him because he's exposed. Like, you go to a StatCast page, it's all blue. There's nothing red about it. And when I say it's all blue, it's low exit velocity. Sorry, my Mexicanness came out. Low exit velocity, not velocity, and low scouting numbers, like low launch angles, low this, low that, low bat speed, low, I forgot what the other ones are, low expected weighted on base average. Everything's low. This guy's so low that he might as well be Home Depot. But anyway, let's move on. I got one more joke for you since you're giggling. This guy's so low, he not only should be Home Depot, he should also be Victor Oladipo.
All right. Yeah. I think you used up your allotment.
No, I'm just getting started.
You're done.
Honestly, I don't know. When did we start? Did we start at 3:30 or 3:15? Because it's already 4:30 Central on my end. But I think we've gone through the hour. Let me think here. You know what? Let's go through this last list, right? We got 70 through 75. You go with that or no?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, 70 through 75. Let's go. And then we'll finish up with the last, the back end of this list, falling short of getting to the 100, but we'll see what next week brings. Jameson Taillon, Michael Kopech, Noah Syndergaard, Griffin Canning, Dane Dunning, who we mentioned at the top of the show here. Of that list, who do you like?
Now this is an interesting list because you can either go with a guy with high upside who's going to guarantee you innings, or you can go with a guy who has a proven track record in Syndergaard, or you can go with a guy who has a high strikeout rate with a good lineup in Canning. I'm going to go with Canning here because of that lineup, as well as, projected 2-3 starter. LA is desperate for pitching. He showed good promise last year. If you're looking for wins, you're more than likely to get you there now with the addition of Iglesias. So, it's good to look at. I'm a little weary of a guy coming off of Tommy John surgery and knowing Syndergaard's work ethic. He'll work hard, but he's also often injured as well.
No, I'm the opposite. This guy Noah Syndergaard is my guy, and that's with Michael Kopech being there. But I don't know where Michael Kopech is. I mean, last year not showing. I understand these players not wanting to show up because of COVID and all that. And Kopech, I don't know what his deal is, but he's also had injury problems as well. But I am a big Noah Syndergaard fan. I love the kid. No, not the kid. He's not a kid anymore. He's a grown ass man. God damn it. But Noah Syndergaard, I've always liked him. I like his stuff. I like his makeup. He has that bulldog mentality. Noah Syndergaard is usually a top 12 pitcher, starting pitcher, I should say. Is that mostly hype? Probably. But the way I see it, he should be coming back right in time for the start of the season from Tommy John surgery. As many Mets fans tell me that he's ready to go as soon as April. I mean, like I said, this guy's usually top 15 at the worst, and you get him at number 71, 72, 73. You get him as a number 4, number 5, number 6 starting pitcher. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you try? Why be afraid and not just stash him away? This is like a real prime stash, a high upside guy. Syndergaard is only 28 years old coming into the season. He's still young and he's fresh. Well, let me rephrase that. He's not fresh, but relatively speaking, I mean, he didn't play last year. He just has to make sure that he rehabs his arm, and we'll see what happens. We've seen plenty of good bounce back candidates from Tommy John surgery, and I'm hoping we see more of that with Noah Syndergaard. The last time he pitched a full season was in 2019. He pitched 197 innings, so that counts for something. Now the strikeouts were dropped for some reason, and that's kind of a concern. But like I said, I still have high hopes for him. I'm a big truther of Noah Syndergaard, so to speak. I love the kid. Kid again. He's not a kid. He's an adult. He's a grown ass man. I like him. On any other team, he's probably the ace of their starting rotation. Luckily for him, he pitches for the Mets, where Jacob deGrom is the ace. So no pressure on him. So he should be easy peasy, good to go. All right, and then finally, the last of the list, we get to number 80, and boy, this is a doozy of a list right here, brother. Michael Pineda, Luis Severino, Eduardo Rodriguez, Justice Sheffield, Sean Manaea, and we have a few Yankee connections on this list as well, so that's kind of funny to me. But who do you like on this one?
I it's gonna be weird. I like Eduardo Rodriguez. This is the point where you take. I would, my philosophy. I would take an ace on a bad team because I'm gonna get my numbers. I'm gonna get my strikeouts, and I know all the health concerns. Dealing with heart issues last year with COVID.
Yeah.
I hope he comes back strong. But coming from the rest of that list, Manaea and Sheffield, there's a lot of promise. I haven't seen a lot of results. I know what I get out of Rodriguez. Even if it is the AL East, this is the point where I take an ace on a bad team.
Man, it's just hard for me to make that connotation with Eduardo Rodriguez. I don't see him as an ace. I know he is the default best Red Sox starting pitcher. It's just weird for me. But hey, the numbers match: 19 wins, 6 losses, 203 innings pitched for the Red Sox in 2019. And unfortunately, but that is a concern of mine, is he was one of those guys who got hit by COVID and he didn't recover as other players recovered. And I don't know what his health situation is. I hope he does feel better. I mean, this disease sucks. And it not only, it only affects you short term, but long term effects are just ugly, real ugly. We've seen a few of our friends, mutual friends, Leon. I won't mention them for privacy issues,
right.
but they still can't taste or smell. So, yeah. And Rodriguez had a heart issue, so that's a concern. Can he go the majority of the season? I mean, the baseball season is a grueling sport. It's a grueling test of might and stamina and endurance. Does he have it? I mean, we saw Yoan Moncada struggle because of it too. Mike Moustakas wasn't the same. I know this because they were on my team last year. I had high hopes for them, and they they weren't the same after they came back from COVID. They really weren't, and which really sucks. But yeah, let's hope that these guys bounce back healthy first. But yeah, to me, I'm not touching him with a 6-foot pole or a 10-foot pole or even a 15-foot pole. I'm gonna be social distant with my fantasy prospects with Eduardo Rodriguez. My guy is Luis Severino, and again, the same thing as Syndergaard. But I think Henry always mentions how Luis Severino is basically Noah Syndergaard, and every time he mentions that, the Mets fans, they get all pissed off at him for saying that and for daring to compare. But you look at their numbers, you look at the velocity and the pitch stuff and the makeup and the peel. They really kind of do mirror each other. One plays for the Bronx, the other one plays for Queens. And Severino, just like Syndergaard, also succumbed to elbow surgery. And looks like his ETA is sometime for June or July of next year. So listen, with Severino, what you do with him is you draft him, immediately you put him on your IL slot, and just wait. Just wait, because again, once he becomes available, he's number one priority for all these teams looking for starting pitching during the after the All-Star game. Like, if you're able to withstand all that, if your team stays relatively healthy, you might get rewarded very nicely at the end. Usually June or July is a little bit of a long time to wait for me, but compared to those other guys I just mentioned, listen, Michael Pineda is, I already know what he's about. I'm gonna skip him, and he's one more bad test from being banned from life, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Justice Sheffield, I don't know what to make of him. I know I do like me a good top 5, top 10, or I forgot where he was ranked when he was with the Mariners and the Yankees, but he was a highly touted prospect. I usually like those guys, but Justice Sheffield still comes with a lot of control problems at this point of his career. I'm like, come on, man, I need you to pick up the pace. And Sean Manaea sucks. I'm sorry, I don't like him at all.
Yeah,
I think he's overrated. I don't like these pitch to contact pitchers, especially not on my fantasy team. That's why I don't believe in the Oakland Athletics, because that's their default ace sometimes. Sean Manaea, either that or Mike Fiers. Which no, you're a fraud. Your team's a fraud. I can't believe the White Sox lost to you guys in the first round. We'll catch you next time though. Screw you guys. They're not even gonna have Liam Hendricks anymore. Anyway, I'm just ranting here. But yeah, Luis Severino is my guy, and because he just looks the best of that group of 5 people. Go ahead.
As long as Severino is pitching to Sanchez, it's not going to work. That's why I could somewhat see Syndergaard working, because he's not pitching to Ramos anymore. That's why McCann works. So there's a positive for James McCann for you.
I still, if I'm a Mets fan, I'm tempering my expectations of James McCann. I mean, you basically paid $40 million to a 50-50 catcher. I'm sorry. That's my opinion. You don't have to like it. You just have to accept it. But, okay, put it this way. There's always Kyle Higashioka, who many Yankee fans will tell you is better than Gary Sanchez, which you would have told me that 3 years ago, that Gary Sanchez is a bum and needs to be replaced by a nobody catcher who was drafted in the 7th round in 2008. I wouldn't have believed you, but here we are. Yankee fans want a 31-year-old starting every single day over Gary Sanchez. I don't know what that says about Yankee fans, or if that's more of a indictment on Gary Sanchez. Either way, it's kind of comical to me. So whatever, it's fine. But and that's it. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know when we started. I don't know how long, but I think we're definitely over an hour. So this is a good place to stop. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. I see the comments. I'm going to reply to some of the good ones, or if not all of them, as soon as I get off and stop hitting the record button and go off live or go off the screen here. But thank you, Leon, for chiming in. And once again, go ahead and plug your show.
Oh no, thank you for having me. And it's been good talking fantasy baseball. Pretty soon, fantasy basketball season coming up. We're gonna have an episode real soon. Catch us Wednesday nights. Ball is Life, the Step Back, me and my good friend Jacob Moses, 8 o'clock Eastern, over in the Ball is Life group. And thank you again for having me on, man. It's been fun.
And as always, like I said, hit that like and subscribe button. When you subscribe to the Life Group podcast, you're not just liking our show, you're liking all the other shows. You're subscribing to all the other shows. You're following all the other podcasts. Each and every one of us, we work very hard to bring you the information that you need and topics that you want to talk about or whatever. This is supposed to be a tool to interact with all our members who have done a wonderful job of creating this environment on Facebook. And for those who are listening to audio only on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Anchor, all the other formats out there for podcasting, we go live every Sunday, at least our show does, at the Baseball Life Facebook group. And it's been a hell of a... We started this in 2017, right, Leon? And I'm being kind of sad because it's the Christmas and it's a holiday spirit. I'm feeling it right here in my gut and my stomach. And it's like, this group's special, man. Especially I've been feeling it. Right now, there's the Secret Santa thing that's going on that's being handled by one of our members. And some people are starting to get their presents already. Did you participate in that this year, Leon? Yes or no?
I did.
Did you get your present yet?
No, not yet. No, not yet. FedEx is working. I did. It's FedEx is working hard. FedEx is working hard. But my present is out there. I haven't received mine yet, but we've been doing this the past 2-3 years, and it's one of the staples of the life groups. It makes a major difference. We should celebrate Festivus, have the airing of grievances, but this works out pretty well, man. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, man. And it's like, it's a special. If you would have told me 5 years ago that I would be a part of something very special like this, I wouldn't have believed you. It's just social media, it's Facebook, who gives a shit? But this is beyond that. It's kind of sappy to say we're all family here, but dealing with what we deal with on a daily basis, I consider Leon part of my extended family out there in New York. He's been, I had a baby this past year, and Leon was at my virtual baby shower, my surprise virtual baby shower, which I did not expect, did not my wife and I were just getting ready to handle this baby on our own and have very minimal support just from our closest. We talk about close knit friends here and here in Chicago, and then you guys showed up big time I mean, I have a special spot for all you guys in this group. So so yeah, man, join us on Facebook. We are a little bit different than all the other sports groups. Join us on our basketball group, our baseball. I mentioned already. There's a football. There's the food group. There's the pop culture group. We have a little bit of something for everybody for all types of topics and interests. So yeah, experience the life group difference. And on behalf of Leon, I am Felipe, and we will be back next Sunday as always. Have a good one, everybody. I forgot how to do this.